Hello, it's great to see you back here in this edition of Cần Thơ News. Let's start by looking at the headlines today. The National Assembly delegation of Cần Thơ City contacted voters of 9 districts and 74 communes, wards and towns online. An online conference to preliminary review work in 9 months of 2021 of the steering board for implementing social security and health insurance policies in Cần Thơ City. The online observation of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction. Top news. On the morning of October 13, the National Assembly delegation of Cần Thơ City, including Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính and Secretary of the Municipal Party Committee, cum head of the City National Assembly delegation Lê Quang Mạnh, contacted voters of 9 districts and 74 communes, wards and towns online. Voters listened to a report on the proposed contents and agenda of the second section of the 15th National Assembly. Accordingly, at this meeting, the National Assembly considers and decides on a number of important issues, such as passing 2 bills and 3 REPS resolutions, and considering and giving opinions on 5 bills, discussing and deciding on socio-economic and state budget issues, supervising reports on the evaluation of the implementation results of the socio-economic development plan and the state budget estimate in 2021. Deciding on the socio-economic development plan in 2022 and many other important contents. Voters of Cần Thơ City are delighted at the leadership, direction, management and administration capacity of the Party Central Committee, the Politburo, the Secretariat, the State President, the National Assembly and the government, especially in the context of performing important political tasks while preventing and controlling the COVID-19 pandemic and developing the economy. Voters also expressed their confidence in Cần Thơ City Party Committee, People's Council and People's Committee in leading and pandemic prevention and control to resume production and business activities. Voters wish that the city authorities would soon acquire COVID-19 vaccines, help with the consumption of agricultural products, create jobs for Cần Thơ City laborers returning from other localities, and come up with suitable strategy to adapt to climate change. Voters' opinions will be selected by the City National Assembly delegation and transferred to competent agencies as well as agencies of the National Assembly at the second section of the 15th term, scheduled to open on October 20th. The Economic Budget Board of Cần Thơ City People's Council on October 13 organized a meeting to verify statements attached with the draft economic budget resolutions to be submitted at the upcoming third sections of the City People's Council. Attending the function was Chairman and Standing Vice Chairman of the City People's Council Phạm Văn Hiếu and Nguyễn Xuân Hải. At the meeting, attendees agreed to approve the statements attached to the draft resolution, including assigning the detailed plan of Cần Thơ Medium-Term Public Investment Plan for the 2021-2025 term from unallocated local budget capital, supplementing estimates for local budget collection and expenditures in 2021, adjusting the investment policy of the project of building and upgrading Provincial Road number 917 and adjusting the investment policy of Provincial Road Project number 918 of phase number 2. Giving remark at the meeting, leaders of the City People's Council and leaders of the Economic Budget Board of the City's People's Council requested the relevant units to urgently supplement the contents to complete the statements attached to the approved draft resolution, to timely submit them, and continue perfecting the remaining statements to submit at the year-end People's Council sections. On the same day, October 13, Standing Vice Chairman of Cần Thơ City People's Committee Dương Tấn Hiển chaired an online conference to preliminary review work in 9 months of 2021 and disseminate missions for the last 3 months of the year of the Steering Board for implementing social security and health insurance policies in Cần Thơ City. To September 30, 2021, there are over 1,002,000 people, or 80.82% of Cần Thơ City's population, participating in health insurance, compared to the target of 91%. Voluntary social insurance participation is of 14,888 people, representing 78.39%. Mandatory social insurance participation is of 92,123 people, representing 68.45%. unemployment insurance participation reached 84,774 people, representing 66.67%. As evaluated by the steering board, health insurance coverage is unsustainable and has decreased sharply compared to 2020 due to the prolonged impacts of COVID-19. To accomplish these targets, Standing Vice Chairman of Cần Thơ City People's Committee Yoon Tấn-Hiển directed the city Social Security, with its role as the permanent unit of the steering board, to coordinate with concerned departments and sectors to continue promote propaganda and mobilization tasks for the coverage of health insurance and voluntary social insurance. Also on October 13, the National Steering Committee for Natural Disaster Prevention and Control solemnly organized the online observation of the International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction under the chair of Deputy Prime Minister, cum Chief of the National Steering Board for Natural Disaster Prevention and Control Lê Văn Thành. Attending the function in Cần Thơ City was Vice Chairman of the City People's Committee Nguyễn Ngọc Hè, who is also the Deputy Chief of the Standing Board of the Steering Board for Natural Disaster Prevention and Control, Search and Rescue of the city. The International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction was initiated by the United Nations to call for the joint efforts of the countries in overcoming every challenge caused by natural disasters. Giving remark at the ceremony, Deputy Prime Minister Lê Văn Thành stressed that the ceremony shows Vietnam's determination in raising the awareness in natural disaster risk, thereby improving adaptive capacity and responding more effectively to natural disasters. Through this activity, Vietnam highly values and hopes that the countries, organizations, and international friends continue to accompany and support Vietnam in overcoming the impacts and consequences of natural disasters, especially in the historic floods in the central of Vietnam in 2020. Vietnam is among the countries most impacted by natural disaster, with an average annual death toll of about 400 people and 1 to 1.5% of GDP lost. At the function, Deputy Prime Minister presented a Level 3 independence order to the Vietnam Disaster Management Authority and a Level 1 labor order to Dr. Trần Văn Hoài, Chief of the Vietnam Disaster Management Authority. Vice Chairman of Cần Thơ City People's Committee Nguyễn Văn Hồng and representatives of departments and sectors on October 13 morning visited local supermarkets on the occasion of the Vietnam's Entrepreneurs Day, October 13. Following Directive Number 15 of the Prime Minister. In general, business operations of the units have improved. Supermarkets, employees, and shoppers all implement the 5K message and pandemic prevention and control measures as recommended. With the active directions of the city's authorities, the staff that have been vaccinated against COVID-19 ensure the operations of the supermarkets and will soon move towards operating at 100% of their capacity. On the occasion of the Vietnamese Entrepreneurs Day, Vice Chairman of the People's Committee of Cần Thơ City Nguyễn Văn Hồng sent best wishes to the businesses and entrepreneurs, including supermarkets in the area, while informed them that the city always accompany and facilitate the businesses through mechanisms and policies. Cần Thơ Farmers Union on October 13 organized a conference to preliminary review midterm resolution implementation and farmers' work in 9 months of 2021. Head of the Mass Mobilization Board of Cần Thơ City Party Committee Trần Thị Vĩnh Nghi attended the function. Through half of the term, Cần Thơ City's Farmers Union has achieved and exceeded 7 out of 14 targets. Outstandingly, all levels of the union have well implemented the task of publicizing the guidelines, policies, and laws of the party and state, and resolutions of the farmers' unions among their members. In the first 9 months of 2021, the Farmers Union guided and established 6 cooperatives, 29 cooperative groups, 35 professional associations, well publicized the prevention of COVID-19 to farmer members, and at the same time mobilized gifts to support people in difficulty and anti-pandemic task force with a total value of 10 billion Vietnam dong. Over 8,000 members were on duty at the pandemic control checkpoints. The union supported the consumption of over 2,000 tons of agricultural products for farmers. Highly evaluating the good outcomes achieved by the city's Farmers Union in the first half of 2018-2023 term, as well as the work of 9 months of the year, Head of Cần Thơ City Project Committee Mass Mobilization Board Trần Thị Vĩnh Nghi also directed the Farmers Union to immediately review and grasp the situations of member lives and people returning to their hometown to carry out care and support work. Promote the role of associations at all levels in monitoring and coordinating for the implementation of support policies for people according to regulations. And now, as usual, let's check out the updated weather forecast. The weather forecast has just wrapped up this edition of Cần Thơ News. To rewatch our bulletin, you can log on to our website at canthotv.vn. And now, thank you so much for tuning in. Goodbye and see you next time.